Okay, here are the answers to the warm-up quiz here. Just take a look at those, check them, make sure that your work is correct. Again, remember, this is not the only way to do those. If you arrive at the same solution, you did it right. So you can pause the video for a moment and take a look at those. Okay, today we're going to be solving linear systems by multiplying first. Okay, now we've done this a little bit with the -1 where we had to multiply by -1. Today we'll just have to use numbers other than -1. Okay, so we might have to multiply one equation, and then there might be some circumstances where we have to multiply both. Okay, so we'll look at that. The first example here that's done for you. Okay, so the two equations are 6x plus 5y equals 19 and 2x plus 3y equals 5. If you look at your x's and look at your y's, you'll see that neither one of them have the same coefficient. Okay, but if I look at my x's, I know that I can take 2 and multiply it by something and get 3. Right? Or I'm sorry, I can take it by 2 and multiply it by 3 to get 6. And we also want them to be opposite, so we're going to multiply it by -3. And you'll see that's what they're showing right here, is that they're multiplying it by -3. When you do that, like we would do, 3 times 2x gives you the -6x. -3 times 3y gives us the -9y. And -3 times 5 gives you the -15. So they go ahead and add those together, get -4y equals 4. And divide by -4 to get y equals 1. And then again, just like we have been doing, they took that y equals -1 and they put it into one of the equations to solve for x. They got x equals 4. They checked it and it checked out fine. Alright, so on your paper, we have this example to go through. So we got 3x minus 3y equals 21. And we have 8x plus 6y equals -14. So again, my x's aren't the same, my y's aren't the same. So I need to make one of them the same. If I look at my x's, I cannot multiply 3 by anything and get 8. But when I look at my y's, I can multiply 3 by 2 and get 6. Okay? So we're going to take and multiply equation 1 by 2. So that the coefficients of y are opposites. Because in the bottom equation we have positive 6y, and at the top equation, when I take 2 times -3y, I'm going to get -6y. Alright, so we'll show that right here. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times -3y is -6y. And 2 times 21 is 42. And they're multiplying by 2 there. Now when I add them together, I get 14x. My y's eliminate each other. -6y plus 6y is 0. And 42 plus -14 is 28. Divide by 14. 28 divided by 14 is 2. So now we need to take that x equals 2, just like we've done before, and substitute that in for x in one of our original equations and solve for y. Again, it doesn't matter which equation you choose. In this problem, they chose to use the 3x minus 3y equals 21. So we put the 2 in for the x. I'm just going to pull it off to the side here so we have room to work it. Okay, 3 times 2 is 6. So I have 6 minus 3y equals 21. Subtract the 6. I get -3y equals 15. Divide by -3. And we get y equals -5. Alright, so y is -5. Our solution then is 2, -5. So we're going to substitute 2 for x. -5 for y. You can do this to check. So in the first one there, I put the 2 in for x, the negative 5 for y. I get 6 plus 15, well, that's 21. So we get 21 equals 21. In the other equation, substitute the 2 for x. Put the negative 5 in for y. Multiply those out, we get 16 minus 30, which is negative 14. So negative 14 equals negative 14, it checks out. Okay, next, here's some problems you can work on your own. Okay, I'll help you get going on the first one here a little bit. Again, if I look at my x's and look at my y's, nothing is going to eliminate one another. But when I look at my x's, I can see that I can multiply 2 by 3 and get 6. Okay? And I just need to multiply by positive 3 because the 2x is already negative. So I'll have a positive 6x on top and a negative 6x on the bottom. So your top one doesn't change. Your bottom one, just go ahead and multiply it. 3 times negative 2x is negative 6x. 3 times 3y is 9y. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. So then you should be able to go ahead, add those together, and solve for y. And then plug that back in and solve for x. Okay, so pause the video right now. Give yourselves a few minutes to work on these. And then you can start up again and look at multiplying both equations to solve. Okay, next here we need to multiply both equations in these in order to get something to eliminate. The reason is, if I look at the first one here, if I look at my x's, I can't multiply 4 by anything and get 5. And if I look at my y's, I can't multiply 2 by anything and get 3. So you just need to pick either your x's or your y's and decide which one you want to use. I'm going to use my y's in this one because 2 and 3 are a little smaller numbers, might make it a little easier to work with. Okay, so since 3 is the coefficient of my y in my top equation, that's what I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by. And because 2 is the coefficient of y in my bottom equation, that's what I'm going to multiply the top one by. Now, the 3y and 2y are both negative already, and I want to make them opposites. So that means I need to pick one of these numbers I'm multiplying by and make it negative. It doesn't matter which one I choose, I'm going to choose the 2. This way, when I take negative 2 times negative 3y, I will get a positive 6y on top. Okay? So negative 2 times 4x gives me negative 8x. Negative 2 times negative 3y gives me positive 6y. And negative 2 times 8 gives me negative 16. On the bottom, 3 times 5x gives me 15x. 3 times negative 2y gives me negative 6y. And 3 times negative 11 gives me negative 33. So now when I add those together, okay, now when I add these two equations together, I'm going to get 7x equals negative 49. Divide by 7. We get x equals negative 7. Now again, pick one of your original equations. I'm just going to pick the 4x minus 3y. Instead of x, I'm going to substitute the negative 7 in there. Minus 3y equals 8. So I get negative 28. minus 3y equals 8. Add the 28 to both sides. I'll get negative 3y equals 36. Divide by negative 3. And we get y equals negative 12. So my x is negative 7, my y is negative 12. Okay, next one. Again, look at your x's, look at your y's here. My x's, I cannot multiply 2 by anything and get 3. My y's, there's nothing I can multiply 5 by and get 11. So I need to multiply both equations. Okay, I'm going to pick my x's again here, again, because 2 and 3 are a little smaller numbers. If you notice, the x's are already opposites, so I can just go ahead and multiply the top one by 3 and the bottom one by 2, and we'll end up with opposites when we multiply. So the top equation, 3 times negative 2x is negative 6x. 3 times negative 5y is negative 15y. And 3 times 9 gives us 27. On the bottom, 2 times 3x will give us positive 6x. 2 times 11y gives us 22y. And 2 times 4 gives us 8. Now when I add these together, negative 6x plus positive 6x is 0, so they're gone. We're left with 7y equals 35. Divide by 7, and you get y equals 5. Okay, again, just pick one of your original equations. This time I'm going to pick the bottom one. Okay, again, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have my 3x plus 11. Now instead of y, I'm going to take my 5 and substitute that in there. And that's going to equal 4. So we get 3x, 11 times 5 is 55, equals 4. Subtract your 55. 3x equals negative 51. Divide by 3. And we get x equals negative 17. So we end up with negative 17, 5 for our solution here. Okay, these next ones, go ahead and work on your own. The second one here I'll help you with just a little bit. The second equation in this one, you need to rearrange it so that it looks like the first one. So I need to subtract the y from both sides. So I get 3x minus y equals 11. Now it's in the same order as the top one. So now I'll have 4x minus 5y equals 18, and we'll have 3x minus y equals 11. Now this problem is kind of a doozy. I wish I wouldn't have picked it here, but I'll just give you what the answer ends up being here. You should end up getting 37 over 11 for x and negative 10 over 11 for y. So little fractions there. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, take some time to work on these two problems, and then also go ahead and work on these last two checkpoint problems. Again, in number 2, you are going to have to rearrange that problem. You'll have to rearrange the first equation in that problem to make it look like the second equation before you can go ahead and multiply and eliminate. Good luck.